All right, welcome back to my torturous series on this monster processor in Knime. Last time we talked about these first three nodes here on how to set up the variable, excuse me, the variables for importing your monsters. And we're just going to go into this copy images section right here, and we're going to show how that works to get all of your image files into the asset folder. This thing is called a meta node. It's pretty much just a container. It contains other nodes. It's kind of seems to be kind of a visual glue to help you like not have such a messy workspace. So I guess this gray line here shows that we came from like a parent object, and the red here is a variable flow. So these are it's taking a bunch of incoming variables right here, and it's feeding it into this variable to table row object. And so what that's going to do is that's going to take the variables that we care about and it's going to turn them into a table. So if we look at this guy here, I'm going to open it up. The only real variable that I care about right here is the overwrite images variable. This is the only one that I need to get into a row. And the reason I need to get that into a row is because of this Java snippet here. So all of the other variables that are coming in are going to be spit into the output. So if we look at this flow, if we look at the results of this guy here, I see that I've got my overwrite images variable got turned into a column, and it has the value of true. If I look at the flow variables that are being passed, all of the variables that I previously set are still here. So I should have an image source path right there. And I should have an asset path right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy everything from this path here to this path here. That's the goal. And we need to use that column that we created here to do that. So then we get into this Java snippet object here. And on this Java snippet object, all we're doing is we're looking at the value of this column. If I hover over this, it'll tell me, it's supposed to tell me what the current value is, like it does here, but apparently it's not doing that up there because it's a Boolean. But so what I'm doing here is I am setting this overwrite images. I'm checking this to see if it's true or false. If it's true, I'm going to set a new variable to the value of top, otherwise to the value of bottom. That's another Knime quirk. I will tell you why in just a moment. But these two guys here, we had to take this guy, dump him into this little input pane here. That made this available for output, or I'm sorry, this made it available for input reference into the snippet. And then we had to create a variable here called out so that we could consume that. So we've got that value right there. And what does that do for us? Well, what that does is that gives us a value of overwrite images that now says top. And then that goes into this if switch. Now this is why we have the value of top or bottom. Because this guy does not work on true or false. This guy works on top or bottom. Yeah, okay. So we come in here and we pass it a variable. We're passing it the variable overwrite images. Its values are top or bottom. That's it. So if the value is top, the top output port is where flow passes. If the value is bottom, well, it goes to the bottom. And you can see I don't have anything set there. So that's the way that thing works. So you can see that this does not work on Boolean values. It only works on strings. And those strings are specifically top or bottom. So all right, if we pass control into here, what we need to do now is we need to set a variable, or set the row back into a variable. The reason for that is because the transfer files node only accepts variables and not rows. So there seems to be a bunch of conversions of variable to row and row to variable within Knime to be able to get things done the way that you want them. So if you're working on things and you just can't figure out how to get what you want with your variable or with your table column, what have you, go look and see whether or not there's a way to do it with the opposite object type. And you may have to do a conversion. There may be an easier way to do that. I don't know. That's what I've found. So we don't need this overwrite variable anymore, but we need to pass a variable of some type over to this guy. And the if switch does not let you pass variables directly. So this guy is pretty much just a transport. And if you look at the outputs, we're still getting all of our outputs here. So my goal is to move the asset, the stuff in the image source over to the asset path. That's the goal here. So we're going to take here, when we go into our transfer files node, we're telling it to go from the local file system. We want to move all the files in a folder. The filter options I have set to a particular regular expression that says to move all PNG files and JPEGs. I don't want to move everything because I've also got the Excel workbooks over there. I'm only targeting PNGs and JPEGs at this point. I'm not going to go into detail about how regular expressions work. I'm figuring that if you're diving into Knime, you probably have at least a basic understanding of regular expressions. If not, there are tons of resources out on the interwebs for that. But we've set that. Over on the right here is a little button to tell you what variable to use as your source. You'll notice it has got that source folder filled in, but it's grayed out. That's because it's using a variable to control that. So I've told it to use a variable. I've come to this drop down and I've selected my image path source right there. Similar to with the destination, I've just told it where my destination variable is right there. And I'm including only the selected files. I'm also doing an overwrite if newer here, so that's just kind of another safeguard. Obviously, if the overwrite images value is false, we're never going to get here anyway. But I'm just trying to be very safe about whether or not I overwrite things. And so that's it. That's the node. We essentially bring in our source and our target and our overwrite flag. We check that flag. We determine whether or not we want to even copy anything, and there's some wiggly conversions that we have to do in order to get to the transfer files, to and from the if switch into the transfer files switch. So that's the way that thing works. I hope that made sense and I haven't been babbling too much, but there you go. Next time we're going to talk about combining the sheet data, and then we'll branch off into the folder nodes if I don't take too much time on that. So hope you have a good day. Talk to you later.